The country is sowing the seeds for an impoverished and poorly educated future state. This is one of the findings in the latest assessment from the Taub Center for Social Policy Studies in Israel. Editor of the report, Dan Ben-David, discussed the latest findings with IBA's Aryeh O'Sullivan.
Israel's productivity is dropping. The illusion of a high-tech country furiously building and growing risks becoming a picture from the past unless dramatic reforms are taken.
For the past 40 years, we've been falling farther and farther behind the leading Western countries. And that is a bad omen because the gap between us and them is growing. We're going to have an increasing problem keeping our best and brightest here.
Dan Ben-David edited the latest State of the Nation report. That report goes a long way to bust the conception that if you remove the ultra-Orthodox and the Israeli Arabs from the data, then Israel eliminates its poverty problem.
When you take out the very wealthy and you take out the very poor, in fact, you focus just on the middle class, okay, the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile, the income gap is the greatest in the Western world.
Dan, what are the reasons for this reduction in productivity?
And one of the very robust results of the past decade and a half is that our children are getting the worst education in the Western world, in the basic areas of study, math, science, and reading. So that's the educational infrastructure. Then there's the physical infrastructure. One of the more basic ones, transportation infrastructure. On the one hand, we're building, okay, but the amount we're spending today is roughly the average of the West, relative to country size, relative to GDP. And this is after decades of neglect. So we today have 2.5 times the congestion on our roads of the Western average. We only have half the cars per capita of the Western average. We have half the cars, 2.5. You're going to have low productivity.
Let's talk a little bit about the Haredim. How are they going to be integrated into the education system?
The trend is towards less education. Despite all that we see with the college, there is a much greater share of the male population whose top educational degree, so to speak, is primary school. It's in. The bright side is that we finally have data on what education means to Haredim. And you can see huge differences in employment rates between Haredim with an academic education and Haredim without. You can see huge differences in wages. And this is something that should interest the Haredi community because it's about them, it's for them. This is going to help you too. This isn't anti-Haredim. The Haredim who are educated are not Haredim. They're just as Haredim as you are, but they can also make a living.
It's a sentiment that is echoed by Knesset member Dov Lipman, who heads the Knesset task force for assisting Haredim to enter the workforce.
There's definitely a taboo in terms of leaving the world of the yeshiva and entering the workforce. That, I do believe, is changing. Just the financial study is changing that. The big challenge is going to be now higher education. That's a taboo, which for them is it's scary. It's scary. What does that mean, higher education? What are we going to be learning? And it's our responsibility to show that higher education does not mean anything that's foreign to Torah values, foreign to their lifestyle. And once we show them that, hopefully we can get to a point where they receive the higher education and enter the workforce at a high level.
The Taub report is being shared with in the country, and Ben-David believes that the Knesset is ripe for making the changes. Aryeh O'Sullivan for IBA News.